It is Tuesday, December 1st. I'm Sam Cedar.
And I'm Lucy Steiner. Which one of these stories will you be talking about today?
Scientists and federal experts predict a long, brutal winter of coronavirus devastation, even with a vaccine on the horizon. Meanwhile, a new report by NBC News shows that Uber's predatory gig economy policies wreaked havoc on a generation of struggling working-class drivers in Kenya, using the same cutthroat tactics they perfected in the U.S. And lastly, new research shows that evictions are massively exacerbated by the pandemic, contributing to as many as 10,000 preventable deaths.
You're listening to Majority.fm's AM Quickie, and these are the stories you need to know.
The holiday season is going to be a mess. After Thanksgiving, the nation's doctors and disease experts are predicting a grim, overwhelming surge in coronavirus cases and hospitalizations, which might not let up until we finally have a vaccine. The numbers are staggering. We're now at about 1 million new cases a week. Some epidemiologists think we could double the current 250,000 person death toll by March. Hospitals are overwhelmed. In California, Governor Newsom warned that the state's ICU beds could be full by the middle of December, particularly in hard-hit areas like the Central Valley. In New York, meanwhile, Governor Andrew Cuomo fears a similar fate as New York City and other areas of the state weather yet another surge. Cuomo said as well that hospital space is the metric we should be paying attention to, even more so than the positive test rate in a given area. It's an absolute travesty that we even have to do this kind of math, but that's where we're at. The one good sign is that Scott Atlas, Trump's go-to liar on the coronavirus task force, has formally resigned from his temporary post in the government. Atlas was the driving force behind the Trump administration's downplaying of the virus and encouragement of misinformation. Also, there's a vaccine on the horizon. Moderna's first shots could be given out as early as December 21st, but that will only be to a small sliver of the population. Until everyone gets them, we're in for a rough winter. Stay home if you can, and take care when you can't. We've known that Uber was a soulless, predatory company for years now, since the drama back in 2017 with ex-CEO Travis Kalanick's pursuit of market domination by any means, legal or illegal. But some of the tactics that Kalanick's cutthroats perfected are now having ripple effects across the world. A new investigation by NBC News shows that in one of those cases, in Nairobi, Kenya, where the company lured in a massive influx of labor and then did everything they could to undercut their new drivers' profits. In one case, NBC describes how Uber originally forced drivers to use larger, more expensive four-door cars. Then after many were locked into leases, they slashed the rates and started allowing smaller compacts to use the service, effectively undercutting everyone who was driving for the app before the change. This sent many drivers into a spiral of debt that their dwindling fares couldn't keep up with, all because they were trying to play by the company's rules. Uber employs over 12,000 drivers in Kenya, many of them in the capital of Nairobi. NBC spoke to over 80 of them, and every one said they were struggling to make ends meet. This isn't new. In 2017, Uber had to pay the U.S. Federal Trade Commission $20 million to resolve the fact that it exaggerated the amount drivers could earn, provided incorrect vehicle financing information to its workers. This is the exact same thing, just in a country with less regulatory protections and an even larger workforce of vulnerable people. There's little to stop them taking this predatory capitalism show on the road all over the world. We now have solid evidence that the government's failure to ensure a nationwide eviction moratorium has cost lives during the pandemic. A new study by Wake Forest University found that the premature expiration of state eviction bans led to more than 433,000 excess COVID-19 cases and 10,700 preventable deaths in the United States between March and September. The study specifically focused on the spread of the disease and its relationship to evictions in that period because it was before Trump's loophole-filled CDC order barring evictions went into place. The CDC order provided some measure of relief, but if you remember a couple of weeks back, we discussed how some corporate landlords bypassed it by just not telling their tenants that they could stop their evictions by citing hardship from the pandemic. Before this system went into place, statewide eviction moratoriums often expired after controlling for a bunch of other factors like mask mandates and other social restrictions. The researchers found that lifting eviction moratoriums were associated with significant increases in coronavirus infections and coronavirus deaths. We'll, of course, need further research on the matter, but what this says is that history will not look kindly on the people who failed to protect their constituents from this pandemic.
And now for some quicker quickies.
Quicker quickie.
After pushing to go ahead with federal executions even through the lame duck period, the Trump administration is now seeking for even more ways to kill people, this time entering a change in the federal record that would let executions be carried out by firing squad. Goes into effect on December 24th, which means there's a non-zero chance Trump could actually use one to execute someone before he leaves office. Ajit Pai, the former Verizon lawyer turned FCC chair, will leave his seat on January 20, which should give the Biden administration a chance to undo some of the destruction he wrought in that seat. It won't turn back the massive Sprint T-Mobile monopoly, but it should give net neutrality advocates some light at the end of the tunnel. In oral arguments on Monday, the Supreme Court did not seem immediately disposed to let the Trump administration exclude undocumented immigrants from the numbers that allocate House seats, a move the Republicans desperately want, as it would drastically shift the balance of power their way. Per the New York Times, various justices were skeptical and confused by the Trump administration's legal argument. Go figure. Arizona joined Wisconsin on Monday and finalized its vote count for the 2020 election, checking off basically the last box to make the election results early this month final. Still 50 days until Trump leaves office, though, so we'll see how it goes.
Quicker quickie.
That's all for today's AM Quickie. Join us this afternoon at noon for the Majority Report live or later as a podcast.